I want to welcome everyone back to the channel. Maybe you haven't been here in a while, but welcome back. As the first point on the agenda today, Pezza, I want to discuss with you when, not if, shall we burn this thing down? That being the GABBA. I'm sick of it. Fucking burn it down. I've had enough of it. Fortress no longer. I've just watched one of the greatest test match this country has ever seen. I'm more interested in the nearly 100-game, 4-month season of the IPL in 3 years' time. I think that brings more joy consistently to people. So there's 2 points there. Bring on the IPL, I say, and also burn the fucker down. Thoughts?
Well, it's not really a fortress, is it? You know, it turns out
No.
it actually diminishes what India did a few years ago. I think maybe we went overboard. Australia just loses there every couple of years, particularly when it isn't the first test of the year.
Yeah.
Look, yeah. I don't know. He goes. I was worried about you doing this last night. You know, when I was cross-examining you about whether we were going to be magnanimous in the event of a West Indies victory and look for a Damien Martin-esque scapegoat. But I kind of, I got to say, if this is treasonous or not, like I kind of agreed with that lone voice at the cavernous Gabba as Alzari Joseph ran in with a couple of overs to go, who yelled out in the most Aussie accent, "Come on, Alzari!" I had messages flying in from a lot of people, very happy with what happened, and I have to say, like, I couldn't take my hat further off, or my pants off, to the and it would be disappointing to them if I did that, but to the West Indies for this win, in particular, SHAMAR Joseph, who has delivered one of the greatest performances seen on these shores in the history of the game. There's just no exaggeration there. 7 for with a broken Edgar Allan Poe from the night before, and Aussies in particular love it with a bit of pain. We're talking John Sattler's jaw, you know, Dermy's ribs or some shit. You know, bowling high 140s over after over into his 8th, into his 9th. Zeroing in, shuffling in, that kind of Malcolm Marshall quick arm action. It's got to be one of the greatest performances ever seen in Australia in the circumstances. And to see him break down and cry after taking his fifer, followed by just the sheer twitch on the man after they won, it's it doesn't really get much better for a sports person playing cricket in Australia. So I just have to start with that. That was it was just one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen.
Which team was more diminished when beating Australia at the Gabba? The Indian team that had a guy called T. Natarajan that no one's even seen since, including his friends and family, or a guy that was working in a nightclub 6 minutes ago who wasn't even going to turn up to the ground today because he broke his fucking foot?
Yeah,
what the fuck are you talking about a fortress?
Wait,
fucking hell.
Australia's
the
so
Olympics
diminished.
can't come soon enough.
Al Nicholson was saying 6 months ago this bloke was bowling Guyanese fruit, you know, and he wasn't even talking about the analogy you use in cricket. He's like literal fruit in the jungle of Guyana. Now I don't know if that's true or not. I thought it was an awesome call. I also loved Ian Bishop's call as well, saying felicitations, you know, from Kingston to Jamaica. Oh, give me that voice, drip it down me. Yeah, man, it was some pretty hot shit. The nature of the dismissals as well. You know, Cam Green, who was looking good with 42, just cracks him on the elbow there, back onto the stumps, heady next ball straight through the defences, yorking the coat, so to speak. It was mate, the guy was hot. It was so awesome. And there was something in it for everybody, you know. There was a chance of Steve Smith getting an even 100, so it kept the autists in the game as well. Josh De Silva stepped on his bat. That was going to upset people. There was just a lot going on, you know. Meanwhile, England's getting themselves back into the game against India as well. Nothing's really coming up Australia these last couple of hours, or at least our National Day, which I'm sure there'll be a conversation about in some quarters following this result.
Well, I think the real winners are the view count of this video, Pezza, and maybe our subscriber count, because many people left after a certain game that happened a couple months ago, but I think people might come back. And we'll also be reviewing that game over there in Hyderabad at the conclusion of that one as well. Shamar Joseph, Pezza. I think, like, I just want to touch on what you said about, like, one of the best individual performances from an away player ever. I mean, I was just actually trying to think of some in my lifetime, like Curtly Ambrose 7 for 2 in a spell at the Wacker happened in our lifetime. There was, like, Coley's 2013 or something like that where he scored 400s, was it here? I mean, like, that was sensational. I feel like there's been some decent batting performances over time. Alistair Cook and Trott in the 10-11 Ashes series when they won here 3-1 with 3 innings victories. I'm trying to think like some other, like even like the really big players in the history of the game, maybe like a Murali. Don't think it really worked
like
out.
Tendulkar's hit 240, Lara's hit 277. Like, guys have done stuff here.
Sticks. Yeah, there's been some good batting performances for sure. Just trying to think about bowling. Like, Curtly Ambrose is one that sticks in the mind. But that from that position that they were in, and also, like, just love that he was in pain. And he's done it hard as well.
Not meant to bowl today. Wasn't getting to the ground because he was in hospital. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And so, I've actually played with quite a few blokes as well who ended up in hospital night before a game who weren't coming to the ground. But
did they pass out at a
performance?
Sorry,
7 for 68. 7 for 68 to win the game, just about single-handedly. Yep. I thought like Alzara Joseph looked kind of unders, heaps of no balls. Spinner not in the game at all. Greaves bowl okay, I suppose. And like just like the nature of the wickets, like there was fucking wheels, man. He was hitting 150. There's guys that have bowled quick out here for sure. Shower, Mark Wood, in more recent times, but like it was 150s and it was a heavy ball. Oh, and the last ball that gets Hazelwood. Oh, fucking hell, man! I was a gasp. But you know, what does it all mean? What does it all mean? I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm saying is I agree with you that it was fucking just one of the greatest individual performances I've ever seen in my lifetime from an away player. But who do we blame, Pezza? Is it time to blame Damien Martin for chipping one to cover in 1993 at the SCG? Is it time to blame that? Is it time to blame Cummins for declaring in the first innings when those first innings runs were desperately needed? Is it time to blame Pat Cummins? Is it time to blame Woolworths for not selling plastic flams? Who do we blame in the country? Sam Perry.
I just want to just note one more thing about Shamar Joseph that makes it extra special. It's literally his second fucking test match. You know, like that was like that was the penetration of a seasoned campaigner that like international professional cricketers are afraid of. You know, like the thing that helps individual performances stand out in and of, like, it goes beyond the performance itself. It's in comparison to what everybody else is able to do. And as you noted, none of his colleagues, while being kind of able supporters, were really at the level that was needed to win that game. It was going to take one of the most special bowling performances, and that it comes from a guy with the story that he has in his second test at a venue where Australia essentially doesn't lose, or used to not lose, just makes it all the more, you know, the birth of a star, really. I just like he's the story of the game. It's a positive story. Very happy to get into the blame game now as well. I thought you kicked that off well. I think ultimately it's gonna zero in on Cummins. I mean, I'm pretty disappointed the bowlers didn't get the runs. That's usually their job in Test matches. So not really sure what's going on there with the bowlers and their blade work. But you know, Andrew McDonald. You know, but I mean, we're gonna zero in Ronnie as well. I mean, he manages to escape some of this stuff. I'll tell you what, like it is an absolutely deserved victory. The Windies are essentially ahead for the majority of the game, and they rendered the conditions favourable when they bowled and batted. I thought they batted with more application. They bowled fuller and more penetratingly. They exposed Australian weaknesses. They're just absolutely excellent value for the win. And moreover, looking broadly at the summer, it is makes complete sense that like one of the opposition teams took at least a match. I think Australia does well to come out of the summer 4 tests to 1 up. You know, maybe I'm going too far there, but maybe it just shows Australia's normally pretty good at edging themselves over the line, then edging themselves. You know, so I think it's a really, really deserved result, and yeah, it's gonna ask questions about where Australia's really at. You know, as it should. That's what happens when Australia loses a game against a team sponsored by, you know, Baker's Delight.
Pezza, Australia have lost 8 for 94 to lose the game. And whilst you look at the raw numbers of that and you think, well, that's just a complete capitulation of one of the highest orders to lose a game from there, to lose 8 for 94, to lose a game by 8 or 9 runs. But I agree with you in that the best team has won the game. And of course, if you factor in the summer that one team has taken one game off the Aussies this year, or this Australian summer. But like, because whilst they've lost 8 for 94, they had the best bowler of the match, and the guy has just, like, in a footballing sense, grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck and just won the game for his team. You know, like, but then at the same time, I'm thinking about the mode of dismissals for the guys. So, like, Cameron Green gets a really good ball, seems to jump off a length, and then hits him in the elbow, is bowled. Great ball. Travis Head, it's a Yorker, but it's also a low full toss. I mean, it's not a bad ball by any sense, but
it tails away.
It's now 4 balls in a row he's been out at the Gabba. Alex Carey plays a pretty expansive drive. It's a good ball again, but it's probably not great. Mitchell Marsh nicks off. That was a decent ball, I suppose. Mitchell Starc made 21 from 14 and looked like he was trying to get it done by the dinner break. And so whilst that was positive, the shot that he plays, he then skews one to mid-off, wasn't it? A point even. It was caught, so that's loose. Lyon is pulling. He plays that shit. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to balance between finding flaws in the chase where they've lost 8 for 94 to lose the game, whilst also celebrate the individual performance of Joseph. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was just the story of the summer for the Aussies. Like, Marnus, there's been a lot of talk about Marnus. Hasn't scored 134 innings. I think he's averaged 19 since the beginning of 2023. Had some tough tours, but I guess that's Test cricket. Maybe what I'm just doing is expanding on your point of, like, where's Australia really at? I still think it's a really good team. But I don't know. I guess as well, Steve Smith, 91 red, opening the batting. So would Australia won had Bancroft been playing? Something to think about.
I think that's the main question coming out of it. You know, if you bring Cameron Bancroft into the side, what happens? I don't know. I got to say, I was starting to. I thought I could see a flicker of, a grown man in Cameron Green during this innings. You know, I don't know about you. Just a couple of authoritative shots down the ground. You know, like when he started, it was still like, propping, pushing, reaching. Timid, tentative. I even liked the way he got annoyed when he got out. Like, he showed us all that it had hit his elbow. Just thought that was just a display of emotion that I was keen to see. But I thought he looked good. I thought he titillated us a little bit, Cameron Green, which is what I want to see. But yeah, like the Aussies may explain it along the same lines as they explained the Delhi capitulation. That it was like they had plans, and all players went out to play their attacking game. Head goes first ball, I suppose. Mitch Marsh, Alex Carey, Mitch Starc, Nathan Lyon was playing fairly positively. Lyon actually looked better than most, getting behind and getting forward to the ball and hitting down the ground. They must have assessed that it was a tough deck. I really think that the story is one guy going through the Aussies with some exceptional bowling. I'm saying that word. And when you're bowling high 140s and you are challenging the stumps every ball, he looked like getting wickets all the time. Yeah, he went for a few because he was doing exactly that. But it's hats off, pants off stuff for me. I think it's fucking awesome, and I think he's obviously a great character. He was interviewed after the game by BJ, and just put the credit back onto his teammates as well, which was really cool. He made fun of himself crying after taking FIFA. Like he was genuinely in tears after taking FIFA. I just think that's actually kind of cool. Sorry to be vulnerable about that.
What better time to be vulnerable, Pezza, by putting glasses over your face to protect how you really feel, in case you want to cry. And if you want to cry in the comfort and safety of your club cricket dressing room, then you need Smith Optics Australia. Use the code FAST. That's TGC's unique code, FAST, and you're going to get 25% off your order to look like the fucking losers in the Australian cricket team. Okay? If that's what you want to do. SmithOpticsAustralia.com. Use the code FAST for 25% off your order. We've been getting behind the boys all summer, and people in turn have been getting behind TGC and Smith Optics Australia, Pezza. And you're looking sensational today, mate.
Thanks, brother. Look, and a shout out to Smith Optics. This is the last integration with them for the Australian Test summer. They've been absolutely sensational for us. The fans, the audience have got around them. Smith have in turn got around the fans and got around TGC. So big shout out to the guys who have made this happen from their end. And every time I wake up in the morning and I see us on one of these clips wearing these glasses, I kind of cringe and wince a little bit. But nevertheless, this is the shit you do for showbiz. And I can only say, once again, I'll put on a new pair of Smith Optics, and the way that it covers the old American Pies there, it's just unbelievable. It's like I'm stepping into a new world, and yet my 2020 sight is as clear as ever. I look fast, and you too can do that. 25% off. 25% off these sunglasses using the code FAST. Apologies for the value.
The main podcast is going to come out on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, etc. tomorrow. As per regular programming, we'll also be covering the India and England Test match, which is going to finish, you think, in about an hour or so's time. So we'll be covering the end of that day's play as well, right here in the channel. So if you are new, why not click subscribe? Pezza, I want to say, like Smith's 91 almost gets it done at the end there. Just the way an over before he ramped Alzari Joseph for 6. And I thought that once they got it to less than 10 by taking that single to give Hazlewood 2 balls of SHAMAR Joseph's eventual final balls of the match, I thought that if Hazlewood got through those 2 balls, I thought Smith was going to try and do it in the next over by himself. I think he was probably going to try and go 6-4 or 6-6. I had that feeling like he wasn't interested in trying to get another entire spell, through another entire spell of SHAMAR Joseph. Such was the speed and aggression that he was bowling with. It felt like there was an event coming all the time. Now, that's obviously elevated because of the stakes of the game at the time. But I just felt like Smith was not interested in just trying to get through 4 balls and take a single and drag it out for another 8 or 9 overs. I thought he was going to try and do it next over. So I guess that if that is true, which it, of course, entirely might be 100% incorrect, but if it was true, the skill of that final ball that Joseph bowls, it's only to Hazlewood. That's getting out a lot of left-handers in the world because it pitches on off and just does enough, and it flicks it doesn't flick, it fucking cannons into the very top of off stump. I mean, that's just the most satisfying way to win a game of cricket. And the wheeling away, I said last night, I did want cartwheels. I wanted fireworks. I got them. So I guess I'm happy in that regard. And it saved Test cricket, which is just such great news. Like, it's actually saved the game. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is it was fucking good. It was good. But yeah, Smith opening. Almost won the game for Australia, Pezza. What does that mean?
I guess it's something, that will help us go to sleep tonight. It was some high numbers against the name that we want. He looked good. He looked good, Smith. He looked good. At the start of his innings, he was looked like he was walking out to the German club there, past point with every delivery. Like at the start, he really tries to cover that off stump. But who the fuck am I to judge that? He actually looked quite untroubled by the bowling all game. All innings, which I think is pretty. SHAMAR Joseph actually nearly nicked him off. With one wicket to win. Yeah, like normally when the set batsman is the 10th wicket, it's because they're trying to score bulk runs with all the strike, given they've got an absolute fucking bunny at the other end. And But I thought it would have been appropriate if Shamar Joseph had just absolutely just fucking scratched Smith off, or just got him just nicking one, squaring up, just to complete the domination of the day. But apart from that, Smith looked really untroubled and very in control at the crease. Just couldn't. I guess he just couldn't steer it there with that with the tactic that he took. And as you say, I don't think too many blokes are keeping out that ball that Shamar Joseph bowled to knock Hazelwood over. Ponting even kind of called it before that ball as well. Surprise, surprise. But he was sort of saying that Shamar Joseph was bowling too full to Hazelwood, who was standing deep in his crease. He's like, he's just got to pull the length back a little bit and bring a couple of more modes into dismissal. And it was fucking great delivery, well deserved. And I like that he's taken 7 as well. Like 7 is like, that number will go against his name, for a very long time, if not forever. And 7 is like you've had a serious day out. There's no you can't jag 7 wickets. So yeah, I just couldn't dips me lid further. Lid's all over my face.
I tell you what, I know there's a lot of talk about people in the Caribbean staying up till 3 a.m. to watch this, and there'll be parties all night in certain and a variety of bars in the nation state that is the West Indies. But I've got to tell you, if you're anywhere near the Story Bridge tonight in Brisbane, there is going to be some sort of fucking circuit. I know it's a Sunday after a long weekend, but I'm telling you, you're gonna want to get out there and have a look at it. I can only say, just send a couple of texts out who you can really rely on for a fun night out. And I think those kind of people are going to be wearing these sort of glasses, possibly into the early hours of the morning, possibly into work the next day at a job that you might definitely hate. But I've got to tell you, if you're anywhere near the circuit in Brisbane tonight, I mean, this is a once in a lifetime. It's once in a lifetime sort of stuff. Get in and around it. It's been a wild summer. I actually can't think of a bigger upset again in my lifetime than what has just happened, given what we were expecting from the West Indies, having just lost by 10 wickets a week ago. It's a completely weakened West Indian side, not just in a team sense, but just structurally at a board level. And they have just heroically won the game by 8 or 9 runs or whatever it is at the Gabba, at a place that needs to be demolished as soon as possible, because that is going to be a haunted Olympic Stadium for many years to come, Pezza. Is there anything else you want to say?
A shout out to everyone who's got behind us this test summer. Obviously, we just do not stop recording. We've got one probably in a couple of hours' time, if it does finish today, and we'll have heaps of other shit as well. And also, if you're in New Zealand, South Island, Christchurch in particular, a couple of tickets left to a live show we're doing there. But if you got behind us this summer, we brought the podcast out from the paywall to everybody. Hope you've enjoyed it.